Okay, I'm here on the floor, just finishing up this last circle for my tilt mount. Stuck there a little bit. Alrighty, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I cut out the circle earlier. I glued 2 of them together to give me 10-30 seconds. This sucker's really rigid. I glued the grain at 90 degrees to each other for maximum strength. Now, of course, I could put more layers and then start doing on 45s, but I'm not going to do that for this. So this is what's going to be like my, I'll call it my swash plate or pivot plate, something like that. Actually, it doesn't matter what I call it. I'm going to draw a line right down through the center here, because I'm eventually going to enlarge this hole in the middle and put a bolt through it so that this whole thing can pivot. Now, I've used my calipers here and checked the depth of the spine of my C-frame. It came out to be 1.12. So I'm going to make it 2/100ths of an inch smaller than it needs to be to make sure that I get a really nice tight fit. So we're going to go to 5/6 and we're going to make a mark. Actually, no, not 5/6, sorry. 5/5. So what I'm going to do, I can use this scrap for example, is I'm going to cut a bunch of these to fit the edge of this circle and come in here just like this. So there's going to be probably 3 or 4 per side of the circle, and of course they'll taper to match the edge of the circle so it looks nice. But then they're going to support, because otherwise if I just have glue on the back edge right here, then it's easily going to twist side to side and snap right off when I go to twist this thing. But if I have a bunch of these ribs supporting it on each side, it should be just fine. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut some of these ribs, and then I'll glue it up, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got all my triangles cut, and now I'm just gluing them on here. I've got just a few more to do, but we want to make sure that we shoot the glue pretty deep into the corrugations so that it really has something to grab onto. Then I'm just lining it up here. If they don't stand up perfectly straight, that's okay, because they're going to bend just a little bit as the glue starts to dry anyway, so that's really not a problem. I can adjust it once I go to actually stick it onto my C-frame. Okay, this thing has set up overnight. I've got a really nice platform here, or pivot disc or tilt disc. I forgot what it was I called it. That was some time ago. But as you can see, you can hold it really well right here. And what it's going to do then is I'm going to enlarge this hole that I've got kind of place holding here with my paper clip. Well, I'll get that out with some pliers. But it's going to pivot around a bolt that runs right through here, anywhere between 0 and 60 degrees in both directions. And it's really, really rigid. So these little ribs that I put in here make it absolutely perfect. Here I'm going to show you how we did the grid for the table that I'm making for my hot wire foam cutter. I made this template here in AutoCAD. All this is 1/2 of my interlocking grid. So you'll have a bunch of them like this and a bunch of them like this. I went ahead and stacked up 16 of these things so to make sure I had enough, and then clamped them together, ran them through my scroll saw to cut out each of these notches. When you're done, you get something that looks like this. Okay, so I've made marks across the top and bottom edges of the bottom half of my table here. What I'm going to do then is set this on top and line up these marks to make sure that everything is centered on 3-inch centers. Then I'm going to take this piece right here, sandwich it right on top, and then weigh it down with a bunch of books.